Hello everybody, this is Kyrix with another edition of This Week in Kyrix. Today is Wednesday, October 14th of 2015, and why am I up here? I'm sure there was a reason. Probably a stupid reason, but hey, a reason's a reason. Okay, we're gonna get, before I go super fanboy on everybody, we're gonna get the other stuff out of the way. First off, there's no clicks update. Our judge had a last minute thing. He told us at like 4 o'clock in the morning Tuesday. Sent out a big text, hey everybody, got something at work, I may not make it to clicks, I'll keep you posted. And he never updated us, so it didn't happen today. Today would have been the Halloween themed tournament, which gives me time to find my final figure for my team. No big deal. No Trek update, because I can't get Anubis up here to play Trek. So that's it. I did a little bit of work on Summon Night Swordcraft Story 1. I have been trying to upload Dead Rising 2 with mixed results, which is to say I've gotten about 30 episodes in and it refuses to cooperate. So I'm going to have to go up in a day or two and do it again. But the big deal is Dragon Ball Xenoverse is likely going to make my starting lineup now, alongside Ring of Red and from Mission 3, which will be Monday. Dead Rising 2, Harvest Moon, Digimon World, and all that other stuff. I am about, let me look. I am 13 episodes in, and I've still got quite a bit to do. Plus, I'm going to pad it out / show stuff off by doing other stuff. And it's incredibly likely that next month, sooner if John gets a job soon, but next month I will likely be showing off the DLC as well. Because there's a bunch of DLC stuff with new masters and whatnot. I'm going to get the season pass, so if something new comes out, though I don't think anything will, I think they said they've discontinued new stuff for it after Resurrection F. But anyway, I have a lot of fun with it. Doing a Saiyan, yes, it's stereotypical, but I have my reasons. Mostly being I wanted to show off Super Saiyan, and none of the other races have transformations. Apparently they were going to, but that was scrapped late in development. Everybody gets Kaioken, whatever, and the Elder Kai Unlock ability, which is DLC. Although that's a pain in the ass to even learn. Right now, I'm running a male Saiyan. It's my Kyrix characters. I usually name something Kyrix, just as a, hey, this is me in the LP kind of thing. The plan is there are 5 races, and I plan to show them all off, at least via story mode, by doing story mode again, etc., you know. I'll probably still do offline stuff like grinding, that is to say off-camera stuff. Like grinding and whatnot to get them appropriately leveled and so on and so forth. But male Saiyan is what I'm starting with. When I beat the game, I gain the option to make more characters. Male Namek, male member of Frieza's race, because those are the only genders for those. And I will be showing off the female human and the female Majin, because you can only make females on those 2 races in Saiyans, and I've already done a Saiyan. So that'll give me a reasonable mix of male to female, you know, just to show them off. Plus, the female Majins are kind of cute. Did I leave something in the stoves? I'm gonna look, because I might have. And, like I said, that's to pad out my episode list to an extent, just so I have more things to show off, you know? So, hey, here's the Saiyans, here's this voice, here's this is another thing, rawr. Here's my Deckard Cain voice, or whatever. Talked about Xenoverse, talked about clicks, there was another thing. Oh, kitty cats! Kitty cats! I've pre-desked this episode because for once I actually know what I'm going to say going into it. Kitty cats went to the vet! Kisa and Oreo couldn't afford honey, honestly. These two, I got home and found out, oh shit, I don't have enough money to buy food for the fucking cat and still cover my Fingerhut bill. So I ended up borrowing it from Mom, so Yeah, I owe her about $16. So yeah, that's a thing. But had to bathe them for. Well, didn't have to bathe them, but it's kind of a ritual by now. I just bathe them before they go to the vet. Kisa was his usual self. He cried and didn't like it at all because, well, he's not a big fan of getting wet. But he was a good boy. He let me bathe him. He didn't scratch me up. And Oreo did not take to being dunked very well. Because what I do is I fill up a tub, and I don't mean a bathtub. I mean like a little plastic tub, like the big Rubbermaid tubs, you know, with the lids. Take the lid off, and this thing's big enough for me to sit in. Wouldn't necessarily be comfortable, but I could do it. And I fill it with water so I can just dunk them and drain it if I have to, and have a dry place to put them so they don't have suds on their feet. So I dunk them, I rinsed them in there a little bit, and Oreo wasn't having that. But as soon as I took her out of the tub and into the actual bathtub and just not hosed her down, used a cup of water to rinse her, she took that better. She was still extremely unhappy, but she took it a lot better. And her fur is such that she allowed me to wring her out, which isn't as violent as it sounds. Basically, I would squeeze her fur by grabbing it with my hands and just kind of petting her forcefully to wring the water out, and then I toweled her off, because unlike Kisa, she'll let you towel dry her. So she was a very good girl. Kisa was good, but he didn't dry quickly because he's bigger than her by a lot. And so I eventually let them out near midnight because I wanted to go to bed and I didn't want to leave them in there all night, you know. And she was dry enough that she wouldn't shiver in the house. Kisa was not, so I brought him out, tried to get him to sit in the bathroom in a towel. He wasn't having it. He wanted to cuddle with Daddy while he's still a bit soggy, so he's my baby. I relented. I let him in bed, covered up, and he stopped shivering, and so he could have time to dry himself. And next morning, they got... He's diabetic, so even though he's supposed to be sedated and he's not normally supposed to eat, he's allowed half a food ration, basically. So I gave him half a can, and Oreo got the other half, or most of it. She didn't finish it, so I gave it to Honey. She got little table scraps, basically. So that basically resolved me that, hey, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to get each of them a can of cat food. Because I had to pick up some for Kisa anyway. And I figured I may as well treat Oreo to some. And even though Honey didn't do anything, she got one as well. Though I had to argue with Mom over that. It's like, I don't want her getting used to cat food. And I finally told her, look, Mom, if she doesn't ever get wet food... when I said cat food, I meant wet food. I told her if she doesn't ever get wet food, it's bad for her. It could mess up her kidneys. It causes their urine to crystallize. Now, they don't need a solid diet of it, but they do need to mix it up every now and then. So she eventually let me get her cats some wet food, which she greatly appreciated. And they all got the same flavor, and it was a Friskies, the little niblet kinds, you know. It's kind of chunky-ish, little meat chunks. It was the ocean fish with tuna and cheese, which sounded pretty damn good to me, you know. I'd eat it. Not all together, but those are all things I eat. And, shit, wasn't expecting that. And yet I jumped down there anyway, even though I saw it was a pit. So, we get to the vet, and it turns out Oreo is an absolute darling. She just behaved herself. Kisa was his usual self. He was violently uncooperative. Let's say that. That's a nice way to say it. They gave him... the vet called me, because they always call me with an update on the cats, you know, hey, your cat did this, you're fine, you need to look at this, etc., you know. Called me like, yeah, we weren't able to do anything with Kisa because we gave him the maximum dose of sedative that we could, and he didn't go down. So the fucking cat no-sold the drugs. Which would be a lot funnier if it hadn't cost me $30 for him to no-sell them. So they told me, yeah, we're going to have to wait until April when he comes in for his dental work to finally take care of this and get his vaccines and all that. And I'm like, well, crap. Just wandering around gathering nether material just because it's something new. Something I haven't done in a while. So yeah, that was a thing. And Oreo was a good girl. Would have cost me something in the neighborhood of $650. I'm rounding. It was more like $630, $640. Would have cost me $650 if I didn't have them both on payment plans. Hers was done that morning. Instead, it cost me $83. So yeah, wellness plans are a big deal. Get them. They will save you infinite amounts of money on your pets. And it is very important that your cat sees the vet. My original cat, Riddles, would have lived a whole lot longer if she had seen a vet on a regular basis. Because we would have found out that her kidneys were getting bad, and we could have done something. We could have treated her or changed her diet or something, and given her at least 2 or 3 more years to live, instead of her having been put down in the condition she was, which was just horrific for me. That was not a happy moment at all. And, yeah, that was the vet thing. Now, as the description says, there are spoilers, and they will likely take up the rest of this video. So, those of you who are not MLP fans, you may as well stop here, because I won't be offended. You know, not everyone likes the show, and you don't want to hear me fanboy on about it, and that's fine. Those of you who do like the show and have not seen this episode and don't want spoilers, stop now, because it's gonna be a thing. And the rest of you, which probably isn't a thing, because only 1 or 2 people ever watch my videos at a time, these videos specifically, lots of people will occasionally watch my others, but not my Twix videos. Those are not nearly as popular, and I'm gonna burrow down. Whee! But yeah, the remaining 1 or 2 people, you know, which is probably the only 1 or 2 people, who do want to hear this stuff, stick around, because it's going to be a thing. I may actually create an accompanying video over this, depending on how well I think I present this. Plus the fact that some people won't watch it just because it's Twic, you know. And they don't watch those or even look at those videos just as a matter of course. Okay, here come the spoilers. I thoroughly believe this is my favorite episode in the entire series, because I've gone on record saying that I think that due to the pacing problems this show has shown on important moments, that the only way this could probably be handled, that is the Cutie Mark Crusaders getting their cutie marks, would be in a movie. And I retract that statement because they have them and it was done perfectly. I'm happy with what the marks represent. I'm happy with what their talents are. I'm happy with how they look. I'm happy with how they got them. I'm happy that they were given the magical mystery cure treatment, that this was given absolute importance. And I'm happy that it wasn't heavily marketed or spoiled. The fans spoiled it, like Jay, my friend, was spoiled on it because he goes on Reddit. Pictures of it everywhere, apparently. Understandably so. It's a big deal. This is something 5 years in the making. And it happened on the 5-year anniversary of the show. So, that's a big deal. And it's also been a thing of this show to not just defeat villains, but as often as possible to redeem them, to bring them over to your side and make them your friends and show them there's a better way. And there's a long, proud tradition in this series of doing that. very first episode, in fact, was based around that with Princess Luna with Nightmare Moon, you know. And it was just, oh, we're gonna take Princess Luna, or we're gonna take Nightmare Moon and make her Princess Luna, you know. That's a big deal. See there. And then Gilda, you know, from episode 5 was redeemed in season 5 after a long 5-season absence. Trixie from the very next episode was redeemed, I believe, in season 3 with Magic Duel, a very good episode. Took Trixie forever to reappear, and she was a huge fan favorite. Gilda less so, but still a favorite. Lots of people like Gilda, or even if they didn't like her, they liked her design. I hated the character, loved her design, you know. And then Discord from season 2's premiere was redeemed in season 3 and became a major recurring character. Sunset Shimmer from Equestria Girls damn near took over the show, which I think she should have. To the extent she still might if there is a spin-off or if there's more movies. She might really be the main character with Twilight playing some kind of apprentice role to her. I don't know. It would be kind of cool to see. It'd be kind of funny for her to write letters to Twilight on how to instruct Twilight. I think that would be cute. And as much as I hate the way that direction went, I've said it before, I trust the writers to do a good job. And even though it's not how I would have done it, they don't fuck up that much. Like I said, I thoroughly believed the only way the Cutie Mark Crusaders could be done is in a movie. The only way they could give them the proper respect and screen time, and I was dead fucking wrong. I never would have approved this episode to make, and I'm glad that I wasn't part of the process because this was an amazing episode. And on the subject of redemption, Diamond Tiara, the irredeemable bitch. I once did a video defending Diamond Tiara. It's actually called Defending Diamond Tiara, where I took a stance I didn't want to take. Basically, there was a guy, Buck Brony. Yes, I think he's Buck Reviewer now. He made a video about... This is right before Flight to the Finish. I remember because he said somewhere in the comments that when I made this video, this episode hadn't come out, so that's why I'm not bringing it up. So I made it a point not to bring it up either. But he made a video about Diamond Tiara, basically saying, I don't think she should have been in Ponyville Confidential, etc. And I'm a credit where credit is due guy. As much as I despise that character, I just say, no, she was perfect for this, and here's why. You know? And I spent about a half an hour or so fully justifying why I believe Diamond Tiara was the right character for that episode rather than making some new antagonist for them. And why she was right for some of the other episodes she was in, like Family Appreciation Day, why it needed her instead of just having Apple Bloom decide that Granny Smith was a kooky old lady and she didn't want to bring her to school. You know? And I said, look, I hate this character, I'm not a fan of this character, but I have to set the record straight, you know? It's just a thing with me. So I hated her as much as everybody. And almost everybody universally hates this character. I mean, she's right up there with Angel Bunny as one of the most despised characters this series has ever produced. To be fair, you're supposed to hate her. So it's not like she was a good character that just went wrong in the development process. She was meant to be just an irredeemable bitch. And everyone forever is like, oh, Silver Spoon needs to break away and become her own character and ditch Diamond Tiara because she's much better, etc., you know. I never cared for Silver Spoon. Now, I will say the designs of the two are adorable. They're very cute. They're just irredeemable bitches, you know. I don't like them. Nobody really likes them personality-wise. And this episode set out... people might say it's a Cutie Mark Crusader episode. It's not. It's a Diamond Tiara episode. Season 5 has been the background pony season. It has been the season where fanfics go to die. Yeah, lots of people are like, my headcanon's destroyed! I'm not a fanfic person, so it amuses the hell out of me when that happens. And it has been the season, as I referred to it, where loose ends get tied up. And in this case, a loose end is, well, Diamond Tiara's an irredeemable bitch. What do we do about that, you know? Do we teach little girls that schoolyard bullies are always going to be hateful, mean, and you should just fucking wipe them off the face of the earth? Or do we try and teach them that maybe they can be your friends too? And they opted that route, obviously, and they did it beautifully. I adore what they did with this episode. For one thing, they decided, okay, let's take some of the heat off Diamond Tiara. We can't just write off everything she's done, you know? We gotta give it a reason. Well, what's the reason? She gets it from her mother. Her mother, whose cutie mark basically says, hi, my special talent is being a trophy wife. And it's been said for years that Diamond Tiara's cutie mark basically meant, oh, she's good at wearing jewelry, or she's just supposed to be rich and useless, you know? But this episode finally explains what her talent actually is. As she puts it, she's good at getting ponies to do what she wants them to do. To be more charitable, she's a born leader. And to be fair, this isn't something that's come out of the blue. Watch Ponyville Confidential, it's all there. You know, if you watch that episode, you can see when you put her in a leadership role, she's amazing at it. You know, she's just born to do that kind of shit. She's just a bad person. She's not a bad leader. Like, that was one of the few episodes that I could say good things about her in, is the fact that she was a fantastic newspaper editor. She could have used stronger ethics, but as far as what her job entailed, selling newspapers, she excelled. She had a town of adults obsessed with a school newspaper, an elementary school newspaper. Think back to your elementary school. Imagine that you worked on the newspaper there, if it had one. I don't think mine did, but it might have. It's been a long time, you know. So it very well might have. I wasn't on it if it did exist, because then I would have remembered it. But let's just imagine that you were in your paper, you know. Now imagine that your mom, your dad, wanted to read it. Not because, oh, it's so cute, it's the school newspaper, but because, wow, this is really well done. Oh, these are great stories. Wow, this gossip column's amazing. Oh, what compelling stories, you know? She fucking did that. Not only did she did that, she implied, it was never followed up on, but it was heavily implied, that she fully expected them to run out at the newsstands, so she gave orders on what to do, how many more to give them if they did. That paper sold like fucking wildfire. Rainbow Dash carried in like 20 or 30 of them that had made it to Cloudsdale when her story was exposed. Keep in mind, Cloudsdale is another town from Ponyville, which meant not only was this circulating to adults, it was circulating in other towns to adults. Children's newspaper, elementary school, towns. That's a talent, you know? Now imagine people in other towns, big towns, are reading your shit. Let's use an example. I have to use Florida because it's a place I'm familiar with. Let's say you're in Largo. It's where I used to live. I still live right by it. But Largo, small town. If you're not in Florida, you've probably never heard of it. If you're not in Pinellas County, you've probably never heard of it. But let's say you live in Largo, and you're an elementary school student. You're about 5 to 12 years old. You know, you're 8. Let's say 8. You know, that seems reasonable. You're 8 years old. You write this really good gossip column, and everyone in your school's eating it up, and some adult sees it, and pretty soon they're reading this shit in St. Petersburg and Clearwater and Tampa and Tallahassee and Orlando. Big cities. And in the case of Tallahassee, the capital of the city. That's impressive. Don't care who you are, don't care where you're from, that's fucking impressive. A little unrealistic, but impressive, you know? And again, it's hard to talk about realism in a place where a 1,000-year-old unicorn princess raises the sun and the moon. And yes, I know she's an alicorn, and I know her sister's back, but for 1,000 years she was doing that shit solo. That's and then I call realism into it and kind of blow my whole credibility. But let's just. But yeah, they decide. It starts off. The episode starts off. You know, Pipsqueak. Never liked him. He was designed to be cute, and for me, it just didn't work. You know, I like Rumble. Rumble's adorable. What's another one? Featherweight's kind of funny. Featherweight pulls off the lanky, awkward Colt thing pretty well. But yeah, Pipsqueak comes in and is like, oh, I'm running for student pony president because for some reason they just couldn't bring themselves to say student body. Nothing wrong with the word. It's not human exclusive. Ponies have bodies too. But yeah, student pony president. I need you Cutie Mark Crusaders to be my campaign managers. I'm like, hey, that's something we haven't tried yet. Because at the start of it, they're like, oh, what do we do now? Oh, I don't have any ideas. We've done everything. We don't know anymore, you know? Oh, musical episode, by the way. Fantastic. So yeah, Apple Bloom sings a very short song. Gets them all fired up. Pipsqueak shows up. Campaign managers. That whole thing. So they go to the school. They start, first off, like, oh, what would you do if you were elected, Pipsqueak? Oh, I'd do this, you know. Then Diamond Tiara, you know, the rival, campaign rival, comes in. Oh, well, that's stupid, because he wanted to fix the playground that Twilight and Kyrix destroyed in their massive battle that should have really nuked half the town. By the way, I'm not just wandering, I'm lost. Just so you know. I have no idea where I am. Not a fucking clue. Well, now I know where I am, or I have an idea. Must be close to something. Because that's an exit hole. I've been here before. Of course, I've been across half this map before. That doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Anyway. She's like, oh, well, I want to be elected. And Silver Spoon's like, oh, well, she's elected. She's going to put a statue of herself up. Turns out Diamond Tiara's mother is the president or the head or whatever of the board of directors, the school board, whatever, the people who control a lot of things in school. Let's call them school board, I think, yeah. Anyway, so another song. This one's dueling with Diamond Tiara, who, as we saw in Pinkie Pride, has a fantastic singing voice. Very, very pretty. We only heard it for a couple seconds back then, but it was very noticeable. And lots of people, including me, remarked upon it that, God, she's got a pretty singing voice. If only she weren't such a bitch. And so she sings a good little song. The Cutie Mark Crusaders section was much better, much more rousing, whereas hers was just kind of a, hey, I'm awesome, vote for me or else kind of thing. But it was still good, and it fit her very well. So, shit. Silver Spoon starts to interject with a fantastic singing voice of her own, but she's voiced by Pinkie's singing actress, so that's no surprise. And even though she does differentiate her voice from Pinkie's, you can still hear a lot of Pinkie in that voice. Which is not a detraction of any kind, it's just kind of a thing you can tell if you knew. If you didn't know, you might not spot it, but I was listening for it, because someone had pointed out, oh, she doesn't sound like Pinkie in it. She managed to split her voice, so I was specifically listening for Pinkie, which is why I heard it. And Diamond Tiara shuts her up with the phrase, I don't recall asking you to speak. And of course, that was the main ammo in the Cutie Mark Crusaders. They already had like 80% or more, if not all of them, ready to vote for Pip anyway. And then she's like, well, if that's how you treat your best friend, I'm going with Pip. So, votes are in. And of course, it's Pip. And they're like, oh, did we get our campaign manager cutie marks? And no, they didn't. And Diamond Tiara mocks them and is like, oh, well, I demand a recount. And Shirley gets this beautiful smirk and says, trust me, Diamond Tiara, Pipsqueak won. So she goes in to count him herself. She's the only one who voted for herself. She calls out Silver Spoon like, oh, why didn't you vote for me? You're my best friend. She's like, well, am I really? Because I tried to help you and you wouldn't let me talk. It's like, hell, you could have won this election if you'd listened to me. You want to know how? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to talk. And then Diamond Tiara gives this beautiful, just scream of rage. I just love the sound of it for some reason. And then you meet her mother as she's moping down Ponyville. The girls follow her because they're worried about her. And you see that Diamond Tiara's mother is a greater bitch than she's ever been, which is impressive. Oh my god, that's an accomplishment. Not one you want, but nonetheless, credit where it's due. It takes talent to be that. Ugh. I literally almost threw up when I said that. Just describing her. I don't know why. Also, she's got that fantastically mobile Miss Harshwinny face. So that's remarkable as well. And then she sings what is my second favorite song of the whole episode. It's this little solo number about how she's not who she wants to be. She doesn't want to be a hateful bitch. She wants to be loved. She wants to be appreciated, but she literally doesn't know how she'd go about that. I don't know what I'm making here. I'm just making for the moment. Just kind of making a thing. Just cause it's pretty. And as she says in the song, I never had any pony to show me how to be any different than this. So the girls decide, oh, she just needs some help. So they meet up with her after school. And she's like, oh, what do you want to do? Rub it in my face that I lost? And they're like, no, we want to invite you to the clubhouse. And she's like, well, I don't have anything better to do. I guess I'll go with you. Real cute little tsundere moment. And she gets up there and she sees their little chart of all the stuff they've tried this week. It's like, is this all you do? Just sit up here trying to think of a new cutie mark method? And like, yeah, kind of. And she's genuinely impressed by this. She's like, wow, you girls are lucky. You just have all these options to explore and find out who you are. And I'm like, well, you've already done that, right? And she gives this great delivery of like, well, yeah, you know, which was total bullshit, but still, very, very good delivery anyway. Don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of making a thing. Do 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 do. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing or why. Doop, doop. Yay, it's a stupid monument made of raw quartz. Pressed in a block form. So anyway, they're starting to get through with her, and Pipsqueak comes in a panic, saying, oh, I just presented my idea to the school board, and they shot it down. We don't have any money in the budget. And Diamond Tiara gets this smirk and basically says, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get him thrown out and get my job back, because she'd been president for however long. And she starts to run off, and the girls engage in my favorite song. It's a dueling song again, of her just going on about herself again, and how her outlook about how she's had to be ruthless and whatever. Like, she said the phrase, something like a diamond doesn't break, etc. It gives you great insight into her character for the first time since the goddamn series started. And it was something that was desperately needed. Because even when they did the Friends Forever comics, which normally give you so much insight into a character, you didn't learn anything new about Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon that you didn't already know. And you didn't like them any more than you did. But, and the girls keep trying to tell her, look, you're better than this. You don't have to be this. There's another way. Just, come on, just don't be this hateful person anymore. And she goes to the schoolyard, and she's about to give a speech, and you don't know, because she was puzzling over it, even up to the point where she got there, of whether she was going to give the speech she intended originally, which is, hey, I'll do this if you depose Pip and put me in, or if she was going to do what she ultimately did. Because her mother steps out of the building and basically bitches her out again and calls the girls blank flanks and all sorts of hateful shit. And she finally tells her off and says, no, these are my friends, and they put more effort into this than anyone I've ever known. And when they're finally going to get their marks when the time is right, and they're going to be amazing when it happens. And then she decides that she basically tells her mother, yeah, give this to Dad. And it's a paper basically requesting that he donate the money to the new playground equipment. And then she just kind of winks at Pip and says, yeah, I had you scared for a minute there, didn't I? Don't worry, Mr. President, everything's going to be fine. Then we get our 5th song of her just singing about, as she puts it, how she can now be the pony she wants to be. Which is what that beautiful song of hers is called, The Pony I Want to Be. Talking about how she can't be who she wants to be because her parents have her trapped in this role where she has to be this rich person obsessed with status and position and wealth and privilege and all this, and she doesn't want to be that. Which is funny because in most cases her father isn't. Yes, her father's wealthy. Yes, he has status, but he's not a completely hateful person about it. He's not nice. If you see him in Family Appreciation Day, he just kind of talks with a smile about how his business became so successful by him just obliterating the competition. There's no competition with him, so he's the guy, you know. But he doesn't do it because he's cruel, he does it to be successful. Sometimes to be successful, you gotta do shitty things. You know, it's not out of malice like most of what Diamond Tiara has ever done up until that point. And so the girls are watching all this, and they kind of sit there and say, you know what? We've been trying for a long time. For them, it's only been like 2 years. For us, it's been 5. Well, actually, it's been like a year and a half for them. Because the series doesn't age at the same rate that the show does, you know? And they're like, you know, every time we've tried to find our cutie marks, we can't do it, but we're really good at helping other people find theirs and understand theirs. And so they suddenly, it just occurs to them, like Scootaloo says, look, at this point, I don't care if I ever get my cutie mark, as long as I can just be with you two. And so Apple Bloom says, oh, well then, how about from this point on, we stop worrying about that and just start dedicating ourselves to helping other people. And as soon as they do that, they're just surrounded in this glow, and their cutie marks appear. Finally, 5 fucking years later. And it's an amazing moment. And with the build-up it's had, it should be, you know? I mean, if it had been anything other than amazing, the fans would have felt, rightfully so, robbed, you know? Because this is something we've waited forever to have happen. And, to me, their cutie marks are perfect. They really are. And a lot of people complain like, oh, there's too much going on, or it's too simple, or it's stupid, but the reason I think it's perfect is because I understand exactly what it's meant to represent. Like someone's complaining, oh, it's just a flag or something. No, it's a little shield, like a crest with 3 colors. And that's the base that they all share. All 3 of them share it as a group. And then in the middle of it is a symbol that's unique to them. A lot of people complain, oh, they got the same thing. Cutie marks are supposed to be unique. Well, cutie marks rarely happen at the same time. Look at Flim and Flam. One of them has almost an entire apple. The other one has the missing piece of that apple, you know? Which basically says their talent is working together. Basically, their talent doesn't work unless the 2 of them are together. They're halves of a whole, you know? And the reason that I think this cutie mark is profound is because the colors in the crest are the girl's main colors. It's got Apple Bloom's red, Scootaloo's purple, and Sweetie Belle's kind of a pinkish white. Well, no, kind of the pink thing. Which basically says, that part of it says that the three of them are together. They are still the Cutie Mark Crusaders. And the symbols are actually two symbols. Like Apple Bloom has a heart inside of an apple. The apple being, well, she's from the apple family. She's tied to that as her family, as her career, etc. The heart basically showing that she is the heart of the group. She is the empathy. When the Cutie Mark Crusaders expressed concern, empathy with Diamond Tiara's situation, it wasn't the group that said it, it was Apple Bloom that said it. Keep in mind, Diamond Tiara, with one exception being, you know, Ponyville Confidential and on a very short basis, has done nothing but make this girl's life miserable. Nothing. You know? She has occasionally teased Sweetie and Scootaloo, but it's always been Apple Bloom. Like, there was one time it was Sweetie when she poked fun of her about Manhattan, you know? And there was that time with Scootaloo about the wings, which was cruel and evil as shit. But her constant punching bag has been Apple Bloom. And yet, Apple Bloom was the one who gave a shit. Apple Bloom was the one who said, and I'm basically quoting, even though she's never cared about anybody else's feelings, that doesn't mean we shouldn't care about hers. So, the heart in that symbol is the fact that she is the heart of the group. She's the one who started the group. She's the one who drives the group. She is the one who cares. Sweetie Belle's is a star with a music note in it. The music note is obvious if anyone's ever heard her sing. She has remarkable creative talent, you know, and a beautiful singing voice. And the star, if I had to guess, I would say that it's the fact that she is pretty much the face of the group, you know. She's the one who tries to come up with ideas. She's the one who tries to fast talk people. She's the one who tries to cover up things. Granted, she's horrible at it, but that doesn't make it any less endearing. You know, and she's adorable. You know, she's the cute one. There's a whole lot going on in her head, but damn it, she tries. That would be my interpretation of the star. And again, she has just a lot of creative energy, just not in the way that Rarity has, which is what she wanted. She wanted to be a dressmaker and a designer like Rarity, and she just sucks at it. But that doesn't mean she's not creative. Like, she comes up with all sorts of plans, they just don't work. Because the poor girl's dent is a sack of hammers. You know? And Scootaloo's is a lightning bolt and a feather. Now, the lightning bolt is easy. That's just like Rainbow Dash. The fact that she's the daredevil, she's the athlete, she's very much the muscle of the group. She's a lot of the talent of the group, in fact, you know? And the wing, well, you could say, oh, that's just cruelty on the part of the Cutie Mark because she can't fly, but also keep in mind the fact that she uses her wings unlike any other Pegasus. She uses them, she can hover with them, but she uses them like an outboard motor on her frickin' scooter. So, basically their talent is being the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and it makes perfect sense because, for one thing, you might think, well, why do they know so much? Why are they so good at telling other people about their cutie marks? Because they've done everything. I mentioned the comics, the Friends Forever comics. One of the early ones is the Cutie Mark Crusaders in Discord, where Discord is freshly redeemed. You know, he's wandering Sweet Apple Acres. They see him changing the apples into weird shit. And he explains that part of his redemption is we're trying to find useful things for him to do. So he's basically contracted with Applejack to take a section of the orchard and try different flavors on the apples. You know, so that's what he's doing. And he asks them what they're doing, like, oh, we're trying to find new ways to get our cutie marks. It's like, oh, that sounds interesting, maybe I can help. And he starts not only suggesting, but warping them into different things to try it. And he comes up with a couple ones, but for the most part, literally every single thing he comes up with is something they've already tried. And he comes out with some outlandish shit, you know? And like, yeah, we did this one already. Oh, we tried this one twice. Oh, I remember this one. That one hurt, you know, that kind of thing. And he's getting more and more frustrated that he can't contribute at all because these girls have fucking beaten him to everything he can think of. And Sweetie basically tells him, look, it's not your fault. You tried, you know. We appreciate that you're trying, but we've come up with all this stuff, you know. So it honestly makes perfect sense that that would be their talent, to help people understand their talents, because they've done all this shit at some point, you know. So they can look at all sorts of shit from different angles. And it's just the perfect talent for them. And to me, this episode, a lot of people are like, oh, this episode's rushed. I don't think it was rushed. I really don't. And I've complained about rushed episodes before. So it's not just a blanket love of the show. But it's just, to me, it's a fantastic episode. Utterly fantastic episode. I just adore it. It's out of 100-something episodes. Let's see. I think episode 9, I want to say. Give me a second. I'm going to do some quick math here. Let's see. No, that can't be right. Oh, that's right. There were 4 seasons. Yeah, episode 9. So this is episode 109, basically. Out of 109 episodes, I've seen 108 of them. I haven't watched Brotherhood Social. I'm just... Comedy about people cross-dressing just doesn't really appeal to me. Which sounds funny when you consider the fact that I absolutely laughed my ass off at Ranma, which is all about that, except the scenes where he pretended to be a girl just... No, it just didn't entertain me. You know, it's all the other wacky shit that happened. Or rather, the scenes of him being a girl were fine. It's when he tried to pass as a girl to strangers that just didn't do it for me. Because I don't like the awkwardness of people pretending to be another gender. Now, don't take this as, oh, you hate trans people. No. Don't hate trans people, don't hate drag queens. I just don't see it as funny. You know, it's just not my brand of humor. Lots of people have humor that they just don't like. Like, there's humor that's just absolutely offensive that other people laugh their ass off at. Look at South Park. Hell, look at Married with Children. There was one woman who tried to get that show canceled and almost single-handedly ensured its success. She couldn't stand that show. I love that show. I think it's funny as shit. Even years later, I still laugh at that show. You know? Dinosaurs, which I think was done by Disney. You know, the Jim Henson thing with the puppets? I used to love that as a kid. I rented it off Netflix as an adult, and there's just shit that I missed as a child, and it was amazingly funny. Like I said, that episode, I keep hearing good things about it. I'll probably see it eventually. I've seen every other episode, you know. If nothing else, I'll expose myself to bits and pieces of it until I just have seen the whole thing. But out of all those episodes, this is easily my favorite. And I'm also including the movies, though those are a different level, you know. And while this thing could have easily passed as a season finale, or some people said a series finale, I kind of like that they buried it in the middle of nowhere like this. Just episode 18 of season 5, because there was no hype to it. And I like that. Because there was so much hype for Magical Mystery Cure. There was so much hype for all sorts of shit. And when the fandom has time to hype something, they have time to get pissy about it, like Canterlot Wedding. People, including me, were not happy about it, you know. Me for different reasons. Everyone's like, oh, there's this new Alicorn Princess, or Unicorn Pegasus, or whatever the fuck they were calling it at the time before Alicorn became official. And, oh, she makes Celestia and Luna less powerful just by existing. And, oh, Twilight has a brother. Why haven't you ever heard of him? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, they're getting married. Why do we care, you know? And they had all sorts of reasons to hate it. Me, I just didn't think a wedding could be interesting. And I had just stereotyped the character before I even saw Cadence, you know. Being that I looked at her art, it was one of the more serious things, and I'm thinking, oh, she's going to be just this hard-ass princess. And of course, when you meet Chrysalis, that's exactly what you get at first. And then you realize that Cadence is just, you know, take the benevolence of Celestia and amplify that. There's all the evil tyrant Celestia memes and jokes, and compared to Cadence, she is. Cadence is just the embodiment of love and benevolence in the Pokemon. You know? And then, of course, Magical Mystery Cure, which I was actually on board for because, quite frankly, Twilight absolutely earned the right to be an Alicorn. You know? Just like the Cutie Mark Crusaders earned their Cutie Marks. I was looking at the episode follow-up on Equestria Daily, and, you know, their whole point is to take screenshots and make jokes. You know? And then when they showed the Cutie Mark scene, the caption was basically, no jokes here. You earned the hell out of those butt marks, girls. You know? And it was a very emotional and touching scene. I was fucking crying my eyes out all day. My eyes are sore as shit, even right now. Kind of tearing up. Literally, since 7 o'clock to like 8 p.m., just marathoning everyone's blind reactions to this in between doing other stuff like getting food and recording Xenoverse, etc. And it took like 8 to 10 viewings before I could even tone the emotion down, because it was such... If you don't watch the show, which, if you don't, why the hell are you still here? Listen to me ramble about Technicolor horses for however long this has been. But if you don't watch the show or haven't watched it consistently, you cannot understand how much of a build-up this has had. Since Season 1, in a very real sense, this has been building the entire series for 5 years. I mean, we're first introduced to Apple Bloom in the first episode, but not really... We don't really meet her until much later. Let's see, I think it was like episode 8, maybe? Episode 12 of Season 1. And again, this is episode 109, if my count is correct. Episode 12 of Season 1, we understand what a Cutie Mark is, who the Cutie Mark Crusaders are, Diamond Tiara, and why she's such a bitch. From episode 12, we have followed these girls. And Diamond Tiara. And we have seen Diamond Tiara just be this hateful, evil person for ever. And you saw her redeemed. And that alone would have made this episode amazing. Just that moment would have made this something memorable that the fans would have talked about for years. Because that was something no one thought could be done properly. And they did it. And it works. You know? I was watching one of the blind reacts, and he had the stream chat, you know, like on the Brony State stream. So I got to watch not just his reaction, but when I glanced to the left, I could see the reaction of dozens of other people. And they realized pretty early on that this is going to be a Diamond Tiara episode. And they're like, oh, they're going to try and humanize, they're going to try and make us like Diamond Tiara. And then she sang her song, and I've described it as her version of Let It Go. And I don't mean it was that tone of song where it was just like, oh, it sounds like Let It Go. I mean, it's the song that changed the story. For those who don't know, in Frozen, Elsa, I think, was the Snow Princess, basically. Elsa was supposed to be the villain. Supposed to absolutely be the bad guy. You know, she was, without a question, the villain of that movie. She was going to have frozen the place on purpose, etc. And they recorded Let It Go, and they listened to it, and they realized, oh my god, that song is beautiful. We can't make her a villain. We have to make her, you know, a tragic hero kind of character. And as this song was playing, you saw all these people, not everyone, but like 80% of the chat, like, oh my god, I like Diamond Tiara, what the fuck is wrong with me? Oh my god, I feel so bad for her. What's wrong? Oh my god, what kind of world is this? Am I in some bizarre world where Diamond Tiara is a good person, etc.? And then, again, this build-up, almost 100 episodes of build-up for the Cutie Mark Crusaders finally getting their marks, and it worked. It was beautifully done to me, you know? To my mind, it was beautifully done. The designs seem, again, they seem a little weird and a little plain until you realize what they represent, and then it's just absolutely perfect. It couldn't have been anything else, you know? Plus, it lets them continue to be the Cutie Mark Crusaders, which means they don't have to write too many more stories. It's just that instead of finding their own mark, they're trying to find them for other blank flanks, or trying to help adults understand the truth of their own cutie marks, etc. And it keeps the dynamic while changing it. And I remarked to Jay earlier that originally when this series started, one of the mandates was, oh, we want this to be viewable in any order. We want a fan to come in season 3 and see an episode and not really have to know all this lore. And Hasbro dropped that shit around season 3. And they started doing things that just changed the series forever. For example, after the finale of season 3, you can't come in there and just find, oh look, Princess Twilight Sparkle, and then go to an episode 1 or season 1 or 2 episode and see her as a unicorn, or even a season 3 episode, you know? Likewise, the Cutie Mark Crusaders will never be the same, and that's a good thing. I did see one guy that just made me laugh my ass off, because he just didn't strike me as being particularly informed. Like, he's like, well, I think they're going to let him grow up finally, because they've had to go through so many actresses, because they keep growing up, and the characters don't... The Cutie Mark Crusaders have been the same 3 girls since episode 1. Well, episode 1 for Apple Bloom, episode 12 for the other 2. Although they were in episode 1, you know? But admittedly, their voices do seem to be changing a bit, which I was under the impression girls didn't really do. You know, because when I was told as a kid, basically when boys go through puberty, their voices deepen, girls don't do that. I'm sure they change a bit, but I was basically under the impression their voices didn't change much. But Apple Bloom's voice has been maturing. Sweetie's has been squeaking a bit less, though thankfully she still does it because it's very endearing. Scootaloo pretty much sounds the same. Then again, she's always had an unusual voice. But what is kind of funny is that she's got the same kind of raspy tone to her voice that Rainbow Dash has. And I would love for there to be one episode where we find out that that's not her actual voice, that she just admires Rainbow so much that she puts on that voice as like an accent. You know, that she's actually got some kind of other voice entirely. I don't think that's a thing. I just think it'd be funny if it was. You know? But again, like I said, you just... Unless you followed this series, you don't know what a huge ordeal this has been from day one. Just... And 5 years later, there's finally closure on it, and they can move on and become the characters that, let's face it, they've been turning into for the past 2 years. Since season 4, they have been changing in a big way. You know, they've been focused less and less on their cutie marks to the point where in Flight to the Finish, the girls, Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, were calling them blank flanks, and they're like, really? That's all you got? Not Diamond Tiara, Silver Spoon even says it later. It's like, what can we do? We've already called them blank flanks. Basically saying, we got nothing else. What else do we have? So, their arc is... Well, they said it in the song, basically, that this isn't the end. This is just the start of a new beginning. You know? That chapter, the blank flank chapter, is closed, and now we get to see what they do. And it's pretty heavily implied that they're going to be more of a thing, you know? That they're going to have a bigger role in the series and a different role, and I'm all for that, you know? Anyway, let me just check a thing here real quick. Close to 500 megs. You know what? We're just gonna call it here. I'm kind of out of stuff to say, and I've been out of stuff to do for the past month. We're just gonna call it here. For those of you, if you're still here, that have joined me, thank you, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye!